Hello, everybody. This is John. I am John Polomage, aka EbonyKeeper, coming at you from EbonyKeeper.blog on my second actual live series. The first one alternates between Zoom calls and Facebook Lives for the Enter Interviewer EbonyKeeper interview series, but this one is more so about marketing. Now, if you guys know me, and most likely you don't, my approach to marketing is very organic. I feel, and I mean, honestly, I feel like that's how it should be, you know, because at the end of the day, I feel like every single one of us, we're all marketers. You're either selling something or you're being sold to. There's no in between, right? So I believe that just like how I start my days, where I repeat my 6 goals, and they're very private, so I'm not going to share that with you guys during this episode, but I repeat those goals to myself in the morning, and after I do that, I say a little something. So I'm going to say that same thing that I say in the morning to set the tonality of this live call, just like I set the tonality of my day, energy-wise, you could say, right? So, oh, wait. Looks like somebody's on. It doesn't even tell me who is showing on my live. Well, thank you for coming on the live. I can't even see you, but wow. Right. So anyway, this is what it is, right? My favorite speaker is Les Brown, and if you know about him, he gets, as far as I remember, last time I saw him, hello Artemis, welcome. Last time I saw him on stage in New York, he gets paid $25,000 an hour to speak in the America, while outside of America he gets paid $95,000 an hour to speak. Welcome, Maria, Mariah, I think it's pronounced right. Awesome to have you. So I'm just really sharing what my beginning of the day process is, and that's how I'm going to be starting off this live, right? So here we go from Les Brown. If you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it. If all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you'd gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it, and lose all your terror of the opposition for it, and if you simply go after that thing, lose all your terror of the opposition for it, and if you simply go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, and confidence and stern pertinacity, if neither cold, poverty, famish, or gold, sickness or pain, body and brain can keep you away from that thing that you want, if dogged and grim, you besiege and beset it, with the help of God, you'll get it. Les Brown. Welcome, Rajal. Who would have thought you'd be here? Right? Now, that's how I start my day, so let's start this episode with Les Brown. You can't go wrong with Les Brown vibes. Can I get a yes? Yes. Right. So when I was saying that, marketing to me is very natural. I know a lot of people who have online brands, like, Rajal here, actually. Matter of fact, I know that you travel all over the world, and, one of your things is obviously to build your own customer base, not even customer base, those that support your blog and everything like that. And, the more natural that you have, people, going to your, entering into your traffic or your funnel, the more obviously that funds can go into that. So, how does that work for introverts? That is the whole point of this episode. So, there's something I actually wrote down here that, just to let you guys know right off the bat, marketers ruin everything. We can, a company can release a product, and depending on the marketer who is, you could say, commissioned to share that product with the world, it could make it or break it. I wrote it here actually. Let's see. Y'all know who I'm talking about, right? You have the low-key ones who they want to get paid for marketing the product, but they don't actually fully believe in it. So they get up on social media and they complain about how nobody buys anything from them. But, you got to have the right energy for somebody to even want to give you their money. They're buying you at the end of the day. The product, sure, that has the natural attraction to it, but they are buying you. So that's a very big deal. Hello, Michelle. Welcome to the, I was going to say, welcome to the team. Welcome to, welcome to the live, right? And then you have those other marketers who, they don't invest in their minds, and they get into, get paid, but it's like, you have to invest in your mind to sort of clean it out from the garbage that, won't actually build up your brand. So how do you do that? I'm going to actually, at the end of this episode, share 4 books that I feel like will definitely help the introvert who's trying to understand marketing, which can sometimes feel like an entirely different language. Like, I used to speak Creole when I was up to 8 years old, and then I stopped speaking it. Now I have this sort of like ghost language just messing with my speech sometimes. And I'm working on it. But it's once you start to get it on a more intrinsic feel, welcome, Samuel, you're going to start to realize, okay, so every single one of us has our own style. Once you start to get to know yourself and, experience more new things, more intense experiences, you're going to start to just understand yourself better, right? What your philosophies are, what you believe in, what sort of causes you want to back, and then what you want to bring into the world. I do understand that some people, they are just really, good to like work for someone or whatever the case may be. And, we all have free will, so you can do that. But then you have the others who they want to provide a excellent service to several people. And obviously, the more people that you help, the more your life will reflect. Financially wise, spiritually wise, you'll just be filled with abundance, from at least the partners I work with. And that's what I've observed, and that's what I'm starting to notice within me. Like, I can wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning after going to sleep at 4 in the morning and be entirely stoked to, get the day going. But if it's like waking up to go to work, my God, it's like gravity is just pushing me down. And that can be a very, very interesting sort of thing to really pay attention to, So when it comes to your brand, you have to set the whole tone of it, honestly. For me, my brand, regardless if it's my spoken word poetry, business I'm building, my interview series, this live honest series that I'm not going to try to keep too long. I don't want to talk your ears off, but, my tone is based on these things right here. It's actually transparency, passion, travel, and art. By transparency, I believe in really just speaking the truth. I have been a very introverted, ambiverted person. At sometimes I'm that person with a lot of energy, a lot of people around me, and, people just think I'm that person. But in reality, I very much like my space to myself. Welcome, Abby. Welcome to the live, right? So what I had to realize is, and it actually happened in the past few months, very recently, is that when you don't speak the truth to someone, people will step all over you. And at first I thought, it was very good to avoid conflict and everything like that. But honestly, it ends up poisoning you. And it ends up poisoning everybody around you. So you do actually have to confront or let go people. And I'm starting to get better at confrontation. And it's really showing in a lot of things and the people that I attract. I'm starting to attract more reds. Now, if you're not familiar with the colors, the color personality test, the red, blue, green, and yellow, if you like, you can let me know, and I can send you the personality test so you can take it and see your results. And if you want to get into more of that philosophically wise, I can definitely send you the 59-minute video over SoundCloud for you to dig into who you are and understanding how you understand other people, right? But truth is a big thing. What is your truth? What, and I feel like if your mouth isn't opening and words that you believe in aren't coming out, then you shouldn't open your mouth. And a lot of people kind of know this, but then you have the other ones who are very manipulative, people who especially read the book, The 48 Laws of Power, and they use it for all the bad reasons. I feel like every repository of knowledge can be used based on, what your agenda is. Now, I love the fact that if you don't know about the 48 Laws of Power, it's a very powerful book. The author of it, actually have it right here. The author of it, his name is Robert Greene. He was getting sick and tired of the people who were in power that he had to deal with on a consistent basis, taking advantage of him. So he decided to study all the people who ever gained power and became massively powerful throughout human history and sort of collect 48 laws that sort of helps us understand, okay, when we're dealing with someone who is more maybe complex with us than us, in the manner of dealing with people or, controlling people, manipulating people, directing people, leading people, how do you deal with that big personality? Do you let them just child all over you, which I did let a lot of people do during my, because when I was younger, I don't know why, but, my dad was like, I don't care if you started the fight or if they started the fight. When you get home, I'm beating you. So I never had a fight before, and I was jumped. And yeah, I know that some parents are like, so long as they throw the punch first, defend yourself. Wish I had that. But, it is what it is. Our upbringing is our upbringing. So it took me a very long time to get used to conflict, almost to the point where dealing with other people in that capacity was alien. But now it's actually like I'm waiting for a red to come at me. A very aggressive person, you could say, especially low personal development. Now, during this, I'm going to be talking about different types of development. The majority of everybody on the planet, most of them only believe or are aware of academic development. Some then are a smaller circle are aware of spiritual development, a smaller circle are aware of financial development, and they're typically the wealthy people. I love this thing that says every household of $250,000 annual income, or more has a library in their house. So we always got to pay attention to the people that we're listening to. If a person doesn't have what you want, then you should not listen to them, or else you're buying their lifestyle. That's why I'm very picky with the people who talk to me and give me their advice, because I'm looking at them and I'm like, do you have what I want? If you don't pass that first metric, everything is just going in one ear, out the other, my love. I've had people actually tell me that they're afraid of this book. And, those who live their life guided by fear, it's almost as if your ears are so filled with cotton, and you're just tiptoeing along the way that you can't hear the abundance. You can't hear the opportunity knocking on the door, and you miss out on everything. And then you, as they say, tiptoe your way to a grave, never having lived. I'm all about intense living experiences. That's all I care about. I'm not really interested in the, and that's my personal taste. I'm not really interested in the easy life, because as they say, if you live a life easily, then life will be hard. If you live life hard, life will be easy. And that's so important and so true when it comes to building a business that, it's underestimated, honestly. But yes, let me not get off topic. Yes, right? So, being truthful, right? And then having passion, right? Why does my brand, why do I focus on passion? I believe that artists, true artists, mind you, they bleed into their pieces. And I believe that, every discipline, regardless if it's being a business owner or, being an artist or chocolate artist or, like me, a spoken word poet, I believe that they are bleeding into their pieces. And that could be seen as passion. And I feel like if you're not releasing material, regardless if it's marketing, you should not release it if your blood is not stained on it. That's just my personal feeling. When I look at whatever it is you're representing, I want you to make me feel something. Because, just like they say, when you're dead and gone, all of the physical things you amassed and all these things that you had to attest to your character, they go away by the dust. But how you made people feel, this is what will last. That is your truest legacy that will last even past money. Because sure, the Rothschilds, they might have probably gonna have the children taken care of for centuries and centuries to go. But I mean, I don't know, my favorite poet, Khalil Gibran, when he wrote The Prophet, he really, really just touched me. Definitely recommend for all those artists out there, read the book, The Prophet. Just to give you a little bit of a backstory, The Prophet, what is it about, right? So I love talking about it, if you can't tell. And since this is my forum series, I get to talk about it, right? So what is The Prophet about? This poet was dropped off by a ship at this village, and he was received into the village, and he said in about 11-12 years the ship is going to come back and take him away. Every morning he'd get up on this huge hill and he'd look, watch the sea to see if the ship came. So during those 11, 12 years, welcome, Lisa, to the live. During those 11, 12 years, the people of the village ended up going to this poet in order to ask him for advice, in order to, regardless if it has to do with their marriage, business, politics, whatever the case may be, for some reason, organically, he bled into these people. And over the 11, 12 years, the economy of the village, the relationships of the people, they grew more close-knit. They became a better village in all aspects of the word. It was almost as if the prism of, say, something, and certain angles of the prism are not fed, or we should say like a plant, I guess, but then this sort of accelerant is introduced, and then you have roots spreading in every directions, and it's a beautiful thing. So after the 11, 12 years pass, the ship came. And so he goes and he descends down the hill, and he's thinking to himself, he's like, what am I going to say to these people that I've grown with, the children that I've seen growing up, the stories I've become involved with? And, he's just thinking to himself. And all of the people in the town, they all start following him, when they see him outside of their window, because they know he's returning back from where he came to become a seafarer again. And they're like, they don't know what to say to him. How do you respond to blood if you've never spoken in that language before? And it is a language. Artists speak it all the time to each other, and that's why we thematically interconnect with one another. So finally, he was getting closer to the ship, and the leaders of the village, they came out. And they begged him. They was like, you must leave something with us. You must give us some lasting thing to remember you by. So we know what to do from now on. And every you had the blacksmith and the father, and all these people coming from different backgrounds. They would all be like, they'd ask him a question, and with each question he'd launch into a spoken word poem. And so really the rest of the book followed him just doing spoken word poetry, and that was his legacy. And I was very much affected by his work. I think it was him who had said, the prophet is never welcome in his own hometown. And that really hit me so much, because if you don't know a little bit about my story, as I said, I like to keep it transparent, business-wise, art-wise. I look at it as interchangeable. I don't see any real difference. So that's why I'm so transparent with what I do. But, I'm gay, and I had a lot of, family troubles regarding that. Family comes from the Caribbeans, and, for those who know the history, Caribbeans are not too fond of us, right? And, whew, sorry, I was dipping in memory lane, sort of got off track. My goodness. Let's see, what's done. All right, so bleeding into people. And yeah, I would just say that you got to speak your truth, honestly, because there are people who are waiting for you to tell your story. And I'll be getting to more of my story as I go through these series, but for right now I just want to focus on the topic at hand, which is the introvert. Yeah, but it definitely was, oh yeah, the prophet is never welcome in his own hometown. Yeah, so I literally, had to come up with my own philosophies, when, I came into the clash when I was 16 years old, and being gay became a problem when it was revealed. I had to raise myself. I had to join the Marine Corps. I had to do a lot of things. Became a business owner. Now I'm out of the Marine Corps, and I'm slowly getting on that progression up as my personal development and financial development rises. And so you get to happen to watch and to be a part of my journey, right? So, but I definitely had to raise myself. I definitely had to. I'm glad my mom was a great source of advice and everything like that. But I really had to think for myself. But it was a blessing in a way, because one of the things you have to understand, for those who are seriously considering owning a business, is if you enter, say, a cave, and in this cave there are 10,000 people. And I love this because I got this from Johnny Wimbrey. I'm just rewording it in my own way. But say in the cave there are 10,000 people, and you see at the end of the cave, there's light, and that light is your goal, right? But those 10,000 people in this dark cave, as you're walking through to get towards your goal, say they're your best friend, say you're your lover, say they're the people that you've met, the people on the train, on the subways, your own parents, your own uncle, your godfather, your godmother. Say these people are screaming at you, and they're saying, you're doing the wrong thing. They're saying, let me fix this a little bit. They're saying, don't, they're saying, your vision is wrong. They're saying, just do it the normal way. Follow the rest of the past. How do you say it in English? Follow the path that we followed. Don't be the black sheep. Whatever. They're screaming at you though. They're using their own blood as dream stealers to speak death into your life because they cannot see your vision. Now, especially introverts, you need to believe in yourself to the point where it's almost as if you do not hear them, because you have to understand that it's all about love. They love you so much that they think they're protecting you, but in reality, they must realize that they must, through love, respect you. They don't have to accept your vision. They don't have to accept anything from you, but they do have to respect you if they truly love you. So, and if they slightly respect you and you guys see each other once every 5 years, so be it. I mean, that's just what it is, right? So once you get to your goal, though, it's going to feel amazing because you're going to start to notice that not only a few out of those 10,000 are going to realize their mistake, and they're going to realize who you are. Some of them might come along with you towards that light, while you may have also come in the tunnel with a few others as well. And shoot, obviously they have their own 10,000, and that one has his own 10,000, and that one's mother won't let him do anything, but or that one's wife don't let him do anything, but when you create your own army, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Like when I went to Vegas with my army, and we were doing what is that dance? It's like, I would show you, but it's hard. I don't know how to say that word, but we were doing it all over the strip in Vegas, and and it was amazing. We had heartfelt moments and everything, and that's when I knew, like, family is biological. They have nothing to do with your vision. It's only by circumstance. It's only by they so happen to understand you if they do become a part of your vision, because of that love and all these other factors. Like me and my mom, we're very close. She's written her first book, children's book. She's an artist. I'm an artist. I get a lot of that from her, but also get my entrepreneurial, I guess, vibe, I think, from my dad. But yeah, you oh gosh, I got off track again. wait. I'm right here. I'm right here. Shoot. Okay. I see. Crud. It's a good thing this is the first episode. All right, you can make a mistake your first episode. You can be terrible your first episode. It's okay, because high possibility is, you get me, you feel me. But yeah. I totally forgot where I was going with that. Gosh, if I can do this, anybody can do this. My goodness. But yeah, introverts, you definitely gotta know that passion is a big thing. You gotta bleed into your craft. I don't care if it's business or if it's art, just bleed into it. You must. Yes. And then now the other thing, travel. Travel is such a huge thing for me. I've met so many people from just traveling in a lot of places in America. I've met people who've come from other countries, and just listening to their stories. It's amazing, because a person is a walking library, and when they open their mouth, they tell you the stories they encompass. And if you're lucky, you get those curious people. And if you've noticed a few of my interview series episodes, the 24-year-old Jelena Ostrovska, who's never had a job before, and she's a beast at entrepreneurship, the father from Pretoria, South Africa, with like 4 sons, and, works at a bank, and he is earning residual income, traveling within Africa. Like, the curious people are the ones to really pay attention to, really. And then you become curious person, the more you travel and such. So that's definitely organic. Everybody gets that. So, and then you have just art. I feel like everybody's an artist, and I feel like marketing itself is an artist. So once you, do all these things, once you are transparent with yourself, and what your passion is, that you're willing to bleed through, and you've traveled enough that you know who you are, you're gonna start creating your own types of art, and the art itself will organically become more complex. So definitely keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that. One thing I love that Jelena Ostrovska, I should say, said is branding is a combination of identity and profession, and once you figure both out, it becomes a very interesting ride. Very, very interesting. So I definitely just wanted to say, like, I want to just say how thankful I am for certain people that came into my life, even if we never end up talking again, because they have been some of the reasons why I have really overcome certain personal obstacles. I'll name a few, actually. They helped me break through a plateau, and maybe they didn't even know it. Mr. Solakis from, what was this? Sewanaka High School. When I was a senior there, I transferred from John Brown High School in Flushing to Sewanaka in Elmont, Long Island, and New York, I should say. And, he just really helped me get into poetry and share my stuff out loud with everyone when I was really going through a formative stage of my first bout with depression, my second bout with depression, I guess, since my cousin died. And then, my mom, Elsie, she's just been my rod and staff, if that's the term, whatever, for so many different parts of my life. It's interesting. We're both growing together. We both got into meditation together, and like, certain parents, they always think of themselves as superior to their child, but then they don't realize that their child typically, takes their level and surpasses them. And that's what I want to do with my children. So realize that your children are someone to watch very closely, and put them around the best in the world so you can watch them even more closely. Other person is Stephen Kinnear Seda, best friend of like 10 plus years. Absolutely amazing. Somebody just like, oh, hey mom. Oh, speak of the, I wasn't saying devil, but I just mentioned you and you just got on the live. Welcome. Yeah, Stephen was the first person I actually came out to about being gay, and it was, I wrote literally like dissertations to him over Facebook. When I went from MySpace to Facebook, and then he was like, okay, so like, it wasn't no big deal to him, and I was just shocked because I thought it was such a big deal, and I realized I was over dramatizing it, and it was really just, the rest of the world who were over dramatizing the big deal of being like, gay. Like, honestly, now it's just, every person, when I look at them, their soul, I'm interested in them bleeding into me. If they're not, if all they got to say is I'm gay, now I forget you. Like, your words don't mean nothing. Like, that's just one layer of the onion. It's a physical layer, and your soul has no gender. Your soul is energy. When your soul reveals itself, the universe opens up. So, please don't get stuck at the gay thing. Just let. I'm gonna stop. Yeah, those are just 3 people I wanted to name. But yeah, so how do introverts dip their toe into creating their own brand online? Me, I built everything really myself. I built my website over WordPress. It started as like, that free WordPress long name, whatever. And then I decided, I'm going to make this into my blog, my business blog. So now it's ebonykeeper.blog. And for those, EbonyKeeper, the name of that, that has to do with a book I'm actually working on, a series of fictional books I'm actually working on, that I'm pouring my personal philosophy into it. And that's the significance of EbonyKeeper. But yeah, you gotta dip your toe. You got to get cut, a paper cut. You got to, because that's how you learn, by looking stupid, by just throwing yourself out there and realizing your strengths and your weaknesses. And when you find your weaknesses, find people whose strengths are your weaknesses, and just by leverage, figure it out together. Because that's what I do with my team. I have teams in New York, teams in Georgia, and as we're growing, things are just getting better. But you got to. When I was building up my website, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, I'm gonna just put this up there into the world and whatever. Just see what happens. And people from all over the world would comment and like it, and I could track it, and oh, this one's from Nigeria, that one's from Australia, that one's, and it was so interesting. It was really, really interesting. I honestly personally feel, when it comes to business or art specifically, I feel like my favorite show when I was a kid was Dexter's Laboratory. So whenever I'm doing anything with business, I'm doing a piece, I feel like I'm in my laboratory. And I always bring notebooks everywhere I go, because the always crux, I felt with Dexter, his big weakness above everything was the fact that he needed to go home to really do his experiments in a safe place. And as a kid, it was always my biggest idea, to have my laboratory everywhere I went. So, bring notebooks, Evernote, have stuff on the cloud, and I always have access to something that can give me, immediately, if I have a new thought, I can put that down. Now, regarding new thought, what does that mean, right? So, if any of you are aware of a show called TED Talks, I definitely recommend it, especially if you're a parent. Sit down, watch a good TED Talk. Not there's some TED Talks where they're just terrible and they're crap, but then there's some that are so valuable. The one that I would recommend right now, I've seen it a few times. It's by someone by the name of Jacob Barnett. Now, what is the history behind TED Talk? So before 2005, people, inventors, those who overcame autism, brilliant people, they'd come all over the world, and in one place they would gather, and one by one, each person would go across the stage, and they would share their ideas with the crowd. And then in 2005, someone decided, we need to make this as free information for the rest of the world. So they decided to create this show called TED Talks. And I'm so glad they did that, because that is one of my favorite shows that I watch. Because I think in like 2012, 2013, this 13-year-old by the name of, as I said, Jacob Barnett, got up on stage, such high energy, great positivity, but he gets up on stage and he starts talking about calculus and all this stuff, and I'm terrible at math. So I was like, oh my God. The first time I watched it, I'm like, I'm going to press X on this. But I was just like, why does this little kid understand so much about math? So I was like, what like little alien in human clothing, whatever. And he was joking. He was like, I'm not here to talk to you guys about calculus, but he was like, I am here to tell you a story. So he said, he had autism, and around when he was 8 or 9 years old, he was absolutely incapable of speaking English. He couldn't express himself. So they put him in an obvious special ed class, 8, 9 years old, but somehow he gets his hands on a history book. And he ends up teaching him, because he couldn't read or anything, but he ends up teaching himself how to read. And he ends up reading the history book from cover to cover. And 2 events, stood out to him, I should say. The first one occurred 400 years ago. If you're familiar, Isaac Newton got his associate's degree in college and was going to go back to college to get his bachelor's degree, but then the bubonic plague happened, and so Isaac Newton, in order to stay alive, stayed at home for 2 years. And during those 2 years, not like the majority of the populace who would have been drinking and complaining about how everybody's dying from the plague, and that's just how the majority of the population, 98%, everybody's complaining about things. If you got imagination and you're using it for complaints, you're just lazy. I'm just gonna say it. You're lazy. You are infinity incarnate. Don't use it for complaining. I'm here to listen to you cause a new thought in me, not to listen to you complain. Anyway, back to 1600s, right? So during those 2 years, Isaac was taking notes. He was writing down new thoughts that he was having. You know, he came up with the theory of relativity. He came up with all these different concepts that he's now famous for 400 years later. And that was a very pivotal time, especially if you read the book, The Celestine Prophecy. That's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, so that was something very big for Jacob Barnett. And then he noticed about 200 years after that, someone very brilliant, I can't remember who their name was right now, but you know, they were disproving some of Albert Einstein's theories. I mean, some of Isaac Newton's theories, and you know, and they were in the same situation. They were stuck at home. Some sort of disaster or something was happening that they couldn't actually leave their house. So they weren't like the rest of everybody else. They were creating in that time period. So 200 years after that, we have Jacob Barnett. And so this 10 years old at the time decided that he needed to teach himself every kind of math because he had an idea that could debunk some of Albert Einstein's theories. And, you know, he taught himself algebra. He taught himself calculus and pre-calculus and geometry and all these different things. And while he was teaching him this, he was getting new ideas, and his parents were buying him incalculable amounts of notebooks, and he was filling them up. But when he filled up all the notebooks, he was writing on the windows and he was writing on the walls. And finally, he actually, when he was 13 years old, when he did that TED Talk about 2013, he released his findings on this science journal magazine thing, and he actually successfully disproved some of Albert Einstein's theories. This 13-year-old who could not speak English, right, 4 years prior. And he said, by the end of the talk, he said, you know, he doesn't believe that anyone is brilliant, that anyone is particularly smart or stupid specifically. He believes that every single one of us have our own learning style. Every single one of us are very unique individuals, and the person who can best understand ourselves is ourself. So when I was talking about before, where you have certain people who only focus on academic, you know, education. They only focus on getting degrees at a job. They do not focus on personal development, financial development, spiritual development, emotional development for that matter. You know, it's very much like they're missing parts of this spectrum. You know, and they go out into the world with their degrees, you know, and they don't even understand finance. And, you know, some of them hit the lottery, and 5 years later, they're making the same money that they were making before they hit the lottery because they never financially developed themselves. Now, that is very key. When we notice patterns, we must snag onto them, hook onto them, because they will weave a tapestry of truth that's laden throughout history. And you must create your own tapestry. You must. And if you do not, because I know there are people out there that are saying, I have free will. I just want to watch Netflix and eat Chinese food and whatever. Like, you can do that. You definitely can do that. However, say you're the person who you have children. Say you're the person who you have a partner. And do realize your level of growth, personal growth, that you stop at, it affects everyone in your life. You know, so if you never develop yourself financially, and you know you bring children into the world, and you only teach them how to work for other people, then they are affected like that in the rest of their life. And if they attempt to learn different ways of thinking, they will go to strangers for that information. And sometimes, in my case, that will work out very, very well because I ended up really partnering myself with a lot of amazing people. But I also have had to learn the hard way as well by partnering up with people who were doing illegitimate things. And that was a hard lesson, Hassan Higgins. Oh, thank you for joining, Hassan. I didn't see your name there. My apologies. And I had to learn the hard way of the illegitimate people and the legitimate people, and now I have a very strong filter. But yeah, you must pay attention to how you're personally developing yourself and who you're allowing to pour into. Yeah. So, and that episode TED Talk, I definitely recommend looking up Jacob Barnett, 13-year-old, over TED Talks and watching that with your children, hands down, especially for introverts, because that kid definitely will teach you some things, right? So I didn't expect this episode to get so long. So I don't want to keep you guys forever, but I do want to leave you with some last things, right? So I want each of you, just like I said in the morning, how I repeat, and sometimes I do it throughout the day, if I feel like I need to disrupt my frequency, because some stressful thing is happening, or really just to set like my own consistent frequency throughout the day, I repeat that thing I shared with you along with my 6 goals to myself in the mirror, wherever I happen to be, and that really helps get me back to myself. Or I'll repeat a spoken word of mine. So, I'd recommend choosing one of your favorite speakers, Rhonda Burns, Johnny Wimbrey, Les Brown, Eartha Kitt. I mean, shoot, I regard her as a speaker, even though she's a singer, whatever, and take something that they said, even if you want to and you like my stuff, like take one of my spoken word poems and repeat it to yourself. If that helps disrupt your pattern, any disruption is the key, is the key. I love one of my favorite quotes from Osho, I don't know if you hear that song, but oh my gosh, that was crazy. It's a cat being attacked. And Osho said, I love to disrupt people because they have not been disrupted for centuries. You must shock them, like hit them hard with challenge. And, because only when you do so, that will reveal their inner potential, their human potential. So I'm in love with disrupting people. And that's one of the reasons why some people who know me, you probably either have been disrupted by me or you have disrupted me. And if you haven't done one of those two things, if not both, then we probably don't talk to each other anymore, because that's just how organically ended up being like. So yeah, with that, I'm going to end it with this, and I do recommend you keep this in mind. So according to a study released in The Guardian, the median African American net worth is set to go down to $0 in 2053. This is going to be very much like a natural disaster, a financial disaster, because of the age of AI, the age of artificial intelligence. 2.5 million people are going to be replaced in my industry with my job of call centers with artificial intelligence. I actually wrote another thing down here. And also 30% of malls will be closed down in the next 4 to 5 years, due to Amazon, AI, leverage, not needing to spend an exorbitant amount of money holding down this ridiculously massive building because you can buy things online. So what I mean by that is that every single person who is aware, and for those that you love, should make them aware that you all should provide a service online. And obviously you should be paid for the service, because if you only focus on one income stream, it is really, really like stacking the dominoes against yourself. And at a certain point, the wave will be very big, bit too big. If you would like some advice or a personal consultation, personal consultation as to how you can build up a business like that, I do have my own, and I can definitely assist you in some advice regarding that, getting your take, answering your questions. If if you like my material, you know, definitely like, you know, comment, subscribe if you love my material. And I'm not gonna be so egotistical as to, you know, say that, you know, my first episode people would end up loving it. But if you love my material, my English, definitely share it. You know, maybe this will cause a new thought in someone. Maybe, you know, as I did, as I watched a certain TED Talk, you know, where I now document all of my new thoughts in order to turn them into the books that I will write, spoken word poems, hundreds of them that I've written. You know, and I'm not boasting. I'm just really just bragging. I'm just really telling you, you must make a habit of documenting your new thoughts to create things, to create your brand and who you are. But yeah, definitely share it out if you like it. So this is the first episode of The Introvert, and I do hope it assisted. If you have any feedback that you'd like to give, definitely feel free to do so. And I intend to increase the quality of these episodes as I'm doing them at the home here in Georgia or when I'm traveling. It doesn't matter. I'm still going to be doing these episodes. I'll come up with that schedule. And do know that my next interview series episode is going to be with a 22-year-old. I think she's 22, 23-year-old. It's happening this Saturday, actually, about 10 a.m. We actually attempted to do 2 interview episodes before, but both times, you know, they did not go through. So, you know, the suspense has really built up with this lady. She's a spoken word poet like myself. She's actually even more successful than me in our business. And I'm going to be giving you guys the opportunity to hear her story. You know, they call her Miss For Real, her poet name, but her name is Jasmine. And I'll tag her in Miss. Definitely keep an eye out for that episode coming Saturday. You would not want to miss her energy. She's amazing. She's literally the bomb, right? So definitely thank you guys for, you know, being here with me. For those who watch it live or watch the replay, if you watched it live, you know, definitely comment live, you know, so I know. If you watched the replay, comment replay so I know. Any questions you have, let me know, and we're good to go. Enjoy your day, guys.